Awesome. I think we're good. We've got 8 people here and we're about to get started. Awesome. We've got chat too. Nick, do you see the chat?
Yep, I can see the chat in the other window. Florica, Ryan, hey guys.
Hey, Ryan. Ryan got into WWDC with the student scholarship.
Ooh,
really
congrats,
excited
Ryan.
about that. And last week I was talking to one of the RIT students who got into the scholarship program last year, and he actually won one of the awards for the student app. So that was really exciting.
Really, at WWDC?
Yeah, he was on stage. I helped them at the Apple had a hackathon at RIT, and I helped provide some guidance during that. It was like a 48-hour event, and I was talking to him about it yesterday, and cool. He didn't expect to win, and they went through like this whole thing where like I'll have to explain it some other time. But it was this game called Divider where you use Force Touch, and it's pretty fun. So, but today I just want to get into an app review. So yesterday I got this email, and it's this new app. It's an update for an app called Things, and I really like Things. And so I've got my camera set up here, and so I'm going to switch over to that in a minute. But I also have Nick here, so you should be able to see Nick. I'm going to click on his video tile. This is Nick. He's one of my roommates from college. Let's say hi.
Hey everyone.
We've been working on stuff together for a while. Nick's really helped with a lot of the iPhone stuff. Originally, he was editing some of my course videos, so just sort of helping. But we wanted to talk about this app, and Nick and I wanted to just discuss what this app. And why don't we just dive right in? Experience, and I think this is so interesting because like this is what you should do when you are a new app. So let's go over to my first experience with this. So one of the things that's so important, and if you're here because you're on my email list, because you've taken one of my courses, like you can sort of see email can be in, and the same is true with apps. An app, if you just put it on the store and you don't tell anyone about it, no one's going to know about it. Just like the same thing with this live stream. Like if I didn't send an email out right beforehand, no one would know about it unless you're on my YouTube page. So what was interesting is that Things send this email. I've signed up for their email list because I was really interested in the new version of Things. They have Things 2, and now I was waiting for Things 3, which was going to do like new sexy UI and make it interesting. So I got this brief little email from them, and you can just click on this and come over to the Cultured Code website where they've got the link and video for their new app. So it's super fun. They've got this awesome video. So one of the other things that's really important is to have like video to sort of show what your app is. So I'm not sure if the audio of this is coming through well, but this is just a really fun video. I don't want to play the whole thing. I want you to check it out later, but it's just a really fun experience. The music's upbeat, so it's getting you excited. They've got like the highlights of what's in the app. So all of this is sort of the marketing materials that go behind a successful app. And this app is doing well in the App Store. It's doing well enough to support a rather large development team. And one of the things that they're doing different, and I wanted to just point out here before we dive into the app and sort of talk about the design aspects of the app, are the pricing model. So a lot of times you see a lot of games that are just $1 or free or things like that. And people say, well, I'll never pay more. Well, here's a case study of an app that is sold as 3 separate apps for 3 separate platforms. We've got the Mac app, which is for $50. We've got the iPhone and Apple Watch app, which is for $10, and we've got the iPad app for $20. And right now, all of this is on sale, so you can save another 20% for I think, maybe in the next week. I think the next 8 days or so. So that's sort of an incentive to buy. So all of this is a pricing model. We can talk more about the pricing model later on if that's interesting for the people in the audience. So like, let us know in the comments on YouTube. If you just comment there, tell us if you want to learn more about the price model. But I just want to jump into the app now. On the App Store, you can find it. We've got Things 3, and we've got some really nice screenshots here. So let's just open the app up. The first thing you're going to see here is how fun the experience is. And that's one of the things I like about animations and apps, is that you can do like these fun animations when you open up something. This is a very good example of the initial experience that you want people when they open up your application. So we have this little dialogue here, a simple action button to do something. So let's go ahead and hit that. Now, one of the things I really enjoyed, and it is on screen, okay, but that doesn't look right. Nick, are you seeing the top of the iPhone? Okay, I'm seeing everything. Awesome. I scrolled down on the watch page. Okay, so one of the things I really like is this unveiling of information and really focusing you where you need to look. So along the top here, we've got the inbox, only thing we see on the screen. And what's really interesting with this sort of unveiling is that you can really focus on what is important. So this is the inbox, okay, I get it. So let's go to the next thing. And so here we can see some additional things. Now, if all of this was on the screen at the same time, there's been certain apps I've seen where they've got all these like lines and they do this like overlay on everything and it's really cluttered. This is a really clean way someone how to use your app or what to focus on and to like have some key takeaways. So sort of if you want to create a concept that is similar to this in your own application, what you're going to do is you're going to have like some kind of dialogue that can call attention to a specific area, a way to highlight, a title and a subhead, and then a button to sort of promote action on the user. Now, what I've seen from my own research, and this is what I find so interesting about this, in my app photo table, which has been downloaded 460,000 times or so, like I've got real metrics on like how people use it, and what's interesting is within the first 3 seconds, 9% of the people are leaving the app right away. So the way that experience is so important. So that fun animation, that's a captivating user experience. The next thing is the next 30 seconds, I lose around 49% of my users in my app. So that's 30 seconds to really make an impact. And so that's where this type of screen that we're looking at is really important, because this can help introduce the patients that it's not too scary, so that it's, and that's what this whole workflow is like. So this is the one part that I feel a lot of developers and people who are new to apps forget, is the initial onboarding experience. That initial 30 seconds, if you don't spend time on that, users are just going to go away. All right, so
and Paul, that's a good point. And Ryan had a question in the chat and was asking, what do you think the right balance is between having these interactions up front and letting the user jump right into what the app's supposed to do?
Yeah, I don't think you want to be gratuitous in your initial animations, because it's like that first 3 seconds, like the user is going to make an assumption. Like if something doesn't feel right with their first touch in the application, then you're going to lose that customer. I watched at a festival where I had one of my games on display, and one of the kids came up to touch the button and the button didn't work. And I had 4 iPads on display. He walked immediately to the next iPad. He basically assumed the first iPad was broken. And then he moved to the next one, and that one also didn't behave like he expected, so he moved to the next one. And it wasn't until he got to the third one that he was actually able to start the game. And that's because I sort of used some dynamic animations and that actually interfered with the ability to press the button. To be careful on that, because one button touch is enough for someone to make a decision whether they want to use your application. So as we're continuing through this application, we're seeing all of this stuff unveiled. We're being able to read what this is saying, and we can just sort of keep going through. So the next part that's really pivotal. So we had that initial unveiling, and that's something that you can walk through in 30 seconds. I know I spent a lot of time talking through it. The next part is really where you're educating the user on how to use your application. And this was a game you had a tutorial that would unveil some of the gameplay mechanics and just make it really approachable for people. So when we get into here, we have the option to do this tutorial. Now, if I've already downloaded this, I might not want to do this tutorial, but if I haven't, then I might want to try it out. And I want to point out something else here. When you've got a dialogue like this, like one of the things that you can do is you can actually test the copy. And when I say test the copy, I mean the text on the screen. So projects and the description up top here, where it says this is where your projects go. We created a great tutorial project to get you started. Would you like to keep it? And so it's a question. And all of this copy is something that you can actually test different versions with different customers. So that's another way to sort of see how can I improve the initial 30 seconds of people in my application. And the next thing that we look at is we see sure and no thanks. Now this is also important. These two words are going to also dictate whether people are going to stay with your app or do the action that you want them to do. So if this was just a yes, no, you would get a different response than if it's sure, exclamation mark, no thanks. All right, so let's say sure. And what I want to do is just go into this application. Let's meet things for iOS. This app is very polished. It's got awesome animations, and it's subtle animation. So it's not in your face. So Ryan, you're wondering like, how do you balance animations? Like you don't want to be over the top, but having subtle animations can definitely make this a fun experience. And they use a lot of these physical animations. So if I tap on this, we'll see how things sort of open up and close, and there's some resistance to this. I don't know if you when you actually download this app, if you try it, you'll see that there's a resistance. It's not super easy to tug. So let's tap this to do. What's fun about this application is that it's all very tangible, and I just need to complete each of these to sort of learn how to use the application. So this is a perfect learning experience for someone new to this who's like, I need to be more productive and just get things done. All right, so let's go ahead and create a new to-do to check that one off. All right, so we created that to-do, so we can check that one off. All right, so put this one in today, and we can just sort of go through, and let's make that for today. So I'm doing this really fast, but this animation is fun. There's all these different things, but we just need to put that in today. All right, so let's make this one for later. So we can follow along these instructions, and we can put this on for, let's say, this evening. Or if we wanted to change that, why don't we make it next week? We tap off of it, it's gonna rearrange and it's gonna go to the bottom, so it's off our focus. So there's just a lot of little details that this app, I think, gets right and really improves upon from the previous one. Now, I actually deleted the previous one, which doesn't help, and I don't think I can re-download it. So that's gonna be hard to show. But before, when I would tap on one of these, what would happen is we'd have a full screen animation, and we would see another screen where we'd be able to edit the title and the description or something like that. And now what they have here is you can just tap on this and you can do inline editing, which is so helpful. So I can just type here which is really nice. And I can also type down here. So that's super useful. The other thing we can do is it's very touchable. And this is what I like about apps that really leverage gestures and the touch screen. This is using a gesture recognizer to move things around. This is the pan gesture. So that's super nice. We can create a project. So just going through this is just so much fun. One of the other things, this one was a fun one. I just want to point this out. So you can drag this plus button. And so again, this is where we're interacting with a pan gesture and doing some stuff that really can make the app dynamic. So this can automatically insert a new to-do in a specific spot. And we could be like, let's go to the garden and weed. We have to get ready to plant our plants. So we'll throw that in there. And super fun. So there's a lot of things I like about this app. It just makes the interactions very streamlined. And under the settings, like if I were to enable the cloud, you just log in and 1Password integration. So I haven't tried this live before, but we'll see what happens. Work. I have to click this, do this. I want so this is another thing that removes friction is when you have something like the 1Password plugin, which is available for iOS, so you can integrate this into your application and have a secure way to put passwords that I don't know. And then we have this dialog that allows me to decide what to do. So I think I want to keep all to-dos. We'll hit continue. And then we're going to see this fun. It is downloading my things. What's nice is then I can keep this synchronized with my iPad, with my Mac, and I can be productive and get things done. So this is just overall a great experience, and importing and operating from the previous version. Like I don't have the things to on my iPhone anymore, but like the upgrade process was seamless. It was well tested. It worked. So there we are. So now we have all of my stuff merged with all of, and you can just jump into here. So we can see like what I'm working on today. We can see catalog. So you can see it just works well with a lot of information. We've got search capabilities. So if there was like a recipe, let's see if I have any recipes. So I had a thing on making a recipe app. So like that was an idea of something that I might want to work on someday. That's in my to-do list. So like it's really convenient things and finding things. And then you can have multiple projects and you can sort of see the state of how things are. That's pretty much things. Like I don't know if you had any input on. Very clean, and it actually like gets out of the way a lot more than things too.
You know, they did a really good job taking care of the details. One thing I was noticing while playing with it here is if you're going through your tasks and you highlight a couple to delete, they even say you're deleting 2 to-dos. So you know that how many you selected, you know exactly what you're doing every time you interact with the app, and it's really well done from the user perspective.
So we can just add a to-do. That was a fun animation. So I don't know if you caught that, but when I hit this plus button, it just sort of dumps out there, and it's a pleasant sort of animation. So let's see if I can write some things. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, there's another question from Ryan. He's asking if you think a tutorial is applicable to every app. Yeah, I mean, sure, there's some exceptions, but what's your opinion on tutorials there, Paul?
Yes. If someone doesn't know how to use your app, they're going to leave the app right away. I have data from my own apps that shows that, and across the industry, like if you just watch people use applications, if they don't understand it, they put it away really quickly. Like someone downloads a new app and then they get rid of it right away, or they never open it again. And if they don't know how to do anything with it, they don't know how to use it, they're going to leave because it's not, it just doesn't make sense. And if things are hard to use, like people don't want to spend time thinking. So you have to make it very approachable and easy to use. A lot of these animations you can sort of create objects around the screen. I've done a little bit of animation work in some of my previous YouTube videos where you can interact with, I'm going to switch cameras. So these types of animations you can do. Apple provides a lot of functionality with, if you're doing game animations, you can use Sprite Kit, but if you're just using UI Kit, there's a lot of fun things that you can do that are relatively easy to do. And I'm blanking.
So where do you think you would start, Paul, if you wanted to build some of these animations into your app? What would you start looking at? What would be the first one you try?
Well, that first intro animation is definitely something that is animation that an animator made. That's not an in-app animation. So that's the other side of the thing. I've hired artists to work for me on some of my apps, like my app, Bomb Dodge. It was a game on iOS. We had an artist who was working on it who did hand-drawn animations. So you're going to have to find someone who can animate if you want that type of animation. But for the other things where they're interaction design animations, like that thing moving, all it is just a translation of an object across the screen. And Apple's got a whole animation guide that you can check out, and you can animate the position of a property, of where something is on the screen, and you can change the way in which it moves. So they've got this whole dynamic animation library that allows you to then add physical characteristics so that you can actually simulate, like when I have an object and I drop it, I want it to accelerate because that's what gravity is going to do. And so those acceleration curves are really what make the Things app that we were just looking at fun. So I would take a look at that. And there's tutorials online that you can find that will go into that type of thing. Yeah, and I think the other thing that's important is just breaking down something. So you just have to take baby steps. Like no one just codes up these animations and it's perfect from the start. Like when I worked on the animations with the Bomb Dodge game or the other apps that I worked on, like it took a lot of tweaking, it took a lot of fiddling to get the right feel. So that's something that you'll just have to spend some time on.
So is that something that you would take and just write out the different steps of the animation and then kind of identify where you would use some of the programmatic animations versus the artist animations?
Yeah, you're gonna have to identify that. Cool. So that's the Things app. All right. Well, thanks for watching, and I think we'll be trying to do some more live streams in the future about different apps and kind of what's interest. If you have any, leave them in the comments here on YouTube, and you can let us know. And Saturday. Thanks for joining, Nick.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was fun. All right, thanks everyone online.